In this video, I'm creating a 3D model of a little diorama scene in Blender. It's a room cutout of a little bathroom, sort of like what you'd find in a dollhouse or with miniatures, for example. Everything is centered around this wall-mounted basin that I saw on Pinterest, and I just thought it was so cute that I had to attempt to make it. So the first thing I'm modeling in this scene is the sink. I love how rounded and quaint it looks, and it took me a minute to figure out the best way to go about modeling it. Because in the reference photos, it doesn't look like there's any seams. The sink is all just one connected shape. So I'm starting with a cube and I'm extruding it out into sort of a chair shape. And then I'm pulling down the part of the chair that would be the seat to create the basin shape of the sink. And then from there, I'm smoothing it out and making some small adjustments to get the overall shape that I want. For this scene, I'm going for a bit of a dollhouse look. I love low poly and stylized scenes with those exaggerated, chunky, and curvy shapes. I feel like that style makes everything look adorable. But I'm finding that I also enjoy more dainty and delicate looking shapes, which is not a style that I see very often. So I'm still trying to figure out how I want to harness that style. So I'm trying out some of those delicate and narrow shapes a bit in this scene, especially with the faucet and the handles that go on the sink. And then I'm building up the rest of the items around the sink. I'm thinking that for any vanity in a bathroom, you have to have a mirror, good lighting, and your essentials like hand soap and a towel and things like that. So I'm just modeling all of those objects. And I'm choosing to make everything wall mounted, especially because the sink doesn't have very much counter space attached to it. I think in a primary bathroom that you'd use every day to get ready, you'd want a lot more counter space. So my vision for this scene is more like a powder room or like a half bathroom. And I'm going with these mid-century modern lights. I'm thinking that they might create some interesting shaped lighting where the light comes off the top and the bottom in a cone shape. I think that could be interesting for this scene. I'm so excited to be 3D modeling more regularly. I swear every time I play a video game, like some kind of simulator with interior decorating or building in it, I always want more control over the tiny details of everything. And playing around in Blender really gives me that. I love being able to make my own furniture and look at an area of a room and say, oh, I think it would look nice if this shape was here. Like if this table or this light fixture or this plant was sitting here in this spot, it would look way better. And then I can just go make that thing and have it in a short amount of time. And that's just really fun for me. 3D modeling is like having unlimited choice to do anything. And it's just so epic. Then around the sink, I'm thinking that it feels a little bit empty. So I'm throwing in a side table, something that you'd maybe see near a bathtub that has some of your essentials on there, like a candle and a book and a product that you might use. And then I'm also adding in some greenery because I'm of the opinion that every space can use a plant. It just makes an area feel more organic and lively. For the leaves of the plant, I was actually going to paint a leaf texture, but I was having such a hard time with my tablet, and I was spending too much time trying to troubleshoot what was suddenly wrong with it. So I just downloaded a free palm leaf image, and instead of modeling the intricate shape of the plant leaves, I'm pulling it into Blender as an image as a plane. This method is just displaying the image of a leaf on a plane, and the background of the leaf is transparent. So you get a lot of detail from the image, but it's creating very little geometry in Blender because you're actually just using a plane with only one face to it. So I'm going to add a few loop cuts to the image plane just so I can bend the shape of the leaf so that when you look at it from a side angle, the plane doesn't look like it suddenly disappears. It will actually have some curve to it. And then I'm duplicating the leaf a bunch of times in the plant pot to create multiple leaves at various sizes. For the towel, I'm using a cloth simulator to simulate kind of like a natural way that a towel would lay on a rack. I want the towel to be a little bit off center In hindsight, I probably didn't need to use a cloth sim for this, but I thought it would be fun. And then I'm going to start adding materials to all of these objects, just to start getting an idea about color and how everything's looking so far. And then I'll add in some more items to fill up the scene. I want the sink to be this light pink color and for the backsplash to have a blue color. And I'm also keeping lighting in mind for how the final render will look. So I'm going to go ahead and model a window on the left wall because I know that I'm going to have the sun shining through the window and creating some shadows on the scene. I also want the blue backsplash to look like tiles. And I want all of the tiles to be lined up with each other rather than staggered like subway tiles. So I'm using a procedural tile texture so that I have a lot more control and can adjust the size and the shape of the tiles to get the look that I want. And I'm keeping most everything else a bit neutral, like using walnut wood, and I'm also using an antique brass kind of color for the metal fixtures. At some point, I stepped back and kind of felt like some of the textures looked a bit too realistic, and I don't want this scene to look realistic. So I'm scaling back some of the textures of my models a bit. For example, I'm taking out some of the texture detail that's on the wall tiles, and I'm lightening up the grain on the floorboards. I'm also going to override a lot of the texture detail that came on the plant leaf image. I'm going to go with some solid colors on the leaves. I want softer textures over realistic looking textures. And this is a concept that's definitely a balance I'm still experimenting with to figure out how I can go about achieving the look that I want. And then I'm going to start moving on to lighting. So I'm basically adding lights wherever I would expect there to be a light in this scene. I'm adding lights inside the wall fixtures and also lighting up the candle flame that's on the side table. And I'm setting up the sun so that it's coming through the window and casting the shadows of the window frame onto the sink and the wall area, just to get some dynamic looking lighting in the scene. I added an area light to the window and marked it as a portal so I can bring more light into the room and have the lighting be a bit less noisy. At this point, I'm realizing I need to add more detail to the left wall, so I'm modeling a windowsill and some window trim to frame out the window, and I'm pulling the tile backsplash over to that side of the room as well. I'm also going to add crown molding, and to do this, I created a curve along the top edge of the walls where they meet the ceiling. And then I'm just using the curve settings to add some geometry to the curve to get the crown molding shape pretty easily. And then for the curtains, I'm using the cloth simulator to create the look of bunched up curtain panels. I've made a few of these 3D Dollhouse room cutout dioramas that I put on my Instagram. Making these kind of sparks joy in me. I don't know, there's like something about them that just makes me happy on the inside. I'm curious to know, what's the thing in your life, like a hobby or a project, that you feel drawn to on like a deep level? Like it speaks to the passion in your soul. And when you engage with it, it just makes your heart sing. I'm gonna add a transparent material to the curtains so that light can actually pass through them and into the scene. For the final render, I'll adjust the lighting a bit to get the look that I want and set the camera to orthographic mode to get the right angle. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me as I modeled this 3D Dollhouse bathroom scene. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and ultimately, I hope that by sharing what I've been up to this week, it inspires you to go do whatever it is that you love in your free time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.